Think we're ready here. Just making sure everything was right. Get in a little deeper. I know a lot of people think that intro music is really me trying to sound cool, but you know, really what it is, I'm just trying to make sure that all the platforms are up and the audio is right. I'm too old to try to sound cool, look cool, be cool. So once again, I appreciate anybody that's going to check this out on the live, check this out on the playback. You are listening to Friedman Media. I have basically called this On Point when I do interviews with political candidates or just people around the community, my village. And this brother here, I've actually known most of my life. We done got to that point where we know people longer than we don't. And I've known him a long time. Our families grew up together in the city of Ann Arbor, Michigan, around Washtenaw County, you know. So we've run these Washtenaw County streets all our lives pretty much. And he is going to another level. You know, many of you know him as a real estate agent, a man about town, and doing his thing, but he is going to another level, and he is up for Washtenaw Community College trustee. So I wanted to bring on Mr. David Malcolm and talk about what it is to be a trustee and why he chose to jump into politics at this stage. So, my brother, I'm not going to act like we don't know each other. We haven't talked. So, you know, definitely welcome back on the platform. I looked at our cast before. Great discussion. And we got to circle back around that about real estate and things like that. There's a lot of things that we covered, but we left uncovered. So I definitely want to get back to that. How are you doing? Because I know it's the end of this political cycle.
Man, I'm tired. I'm tired.
You've been running the race, man. You've been running the race. And crazy thing was, when we first started talking about this, you know, I was like, you know, so when are you going to do the pub? When are you going to do the pub? Somebody had already schooled you on it, and you didn't want to shoot the wad too early. You knew that it was too far out to really get into it. But I've liked the way you've done it on social media, out in the community. I need one of the signs. I'll get with you within the next 24 because I'm going to be working the polls out in front for some other candidates, and I want to have your sign as well. When people are pulling in, I want them to see Malcolm for trustee, as the other candidates that I'm rocking with, Marla Lindeman Richelieu for circuit court judge, I'm going to work my way down into the town because I'm in the township for Amber Fellows, running for mayor of the city of Ypsilanti. And there's a couple other people that I will be politicking for. I don't get out there and do it a lot, but I believe in candidates. I'll work with them. And you're definitely somebody that I'll work with just because I know you as a man. But first and foremost, what is a Washtenaw Community College trustee, and why is David Malcolm running for it?
Well, to make it simple, the Washtenaw Community College Board of Trustees sets forth policy and procedures to operate the college. So all the policy and procedures that are, set for the employees, for the students, for the administration, for the board itself are set by this board. And you asked me, why am I running?
Mm-hmm.
Like I spoke earlier in another situation, I'm not a politician, man. I don't really dig politics. Politics is a really nasty, dirty game, and it's not something that I ever wanted to really get involved in. But back in the day when they were closing down Roberto Clemente Student Development Center, another place that I love, and a really integral part of who I am as a person. They began to close it, and I began to fight really hard against the Ann Arbor Public School Board about doing so because I knew that institution saved lives, including my own. So back then, I guess people started to see me showing up at these meetings every week, and pouring my heart out for an institution that I love. And they started asking me to run for things. They started asking me to run for the school board. They started asking me to run for city council. They started asking me to run for county commissioner type situations, and I just always decline those opportunities because, again, I never wanted to get into politics.
Right.
But anybody that truly knows me, and there are people that know me at WCC that have heard me say, if I ever was to run for any kind of political position, it would be for this seat that I'm running for now, and that's the Washtenaw Community College Board of Trustees, because I put 22 years of my life in at WCC. I served as a union officer, as a bargaining chair, and as a chief steward for four bargaining agreements. That's about 13 years. So I served there. I'm a graduate of WCC. I'm also a donor at WCC. In 2012, I'll go back a little bit. My mother, at 55, decided that she wanted to go back to school and reclaim her education, which she was not able to complete because she had to care for her mother and she had me. And she got to the point where she's like, I want a degree. So she went back to school and took her GED. She started taking classes at Washtenaw Community College. And unfortunately, she passed away that same year. She was 55 years old. So I think it was coming up on my mother's 10th anniversary of her death. I wanted to see what I could do in her memory to help some others out. So I came up with the Leela Pitts Educational Endowment, and I fully funded that endowment this year, actually, through biweekly payments out of my check, a facilities management check, which ain't a whole lot of money.
Sure.
But I fully funded that endowment, and it's now available, to help single mothers with their tuition, childcare expenses, and things like that. And not just single mothers, but that's what I was aiming it for.
Absolutely.
My mother was a single lady, and I as I worked at Washtenaw for 22 years, I saw a lot of mothers come in there and, needing help and whatnot. So I figured that would be my way of giving back in honor of my mother and keeping her legacy in this county and community, revolving. So I did that. And, I worked under a really awesome manager, Mr. Martin Thomas. And 46 years my manager Martin put in at the college, and I learned a lot from him about always keeping our customers, the taxpayer, the students first. Always, being ready to do the next right thing, and just working with a man like that kind of, steered me towards this situation that I'm in right now. So he actually ran 2 years ago and was unsuccessful at winning the seat. But after talking to him, after talking to the faculty and staff, I've been on a medical leave since last February. And everybody started calling me, asking me, was I coming back? Was I coming back? And I really, my health was more important to me than going back. And
absolutely.
I had some health issues that I was trying to resolve, and I was kind of catching some flack for trying to resolve those issues.
Sure.
So I had some conversations with my kids. I had some conversations with some very important people in the community, important to me at least. I fought it. And last April, I don't know, I walked downtown and put my name on the ballot, and here we are today. So that's how I got here.
Okay.
I don't necessarily have any axe to grind in this process, but what I do want to do is be a voice of reason for us, the taxpayers, who so willingly and graciously fund these millages that support WCC's success. I want to be a voice of reason for the students, especially, a lot of those kids that come from our community that need that access to workforce development, that need access to training, that need access. 4-year colleges aren't for everybody. So we have to provide something for these youngsters to be able to enter the workforce, this global workforce that we're in.
Absolutely.
And provide them the training, the certifications, and provide them what they need so they can, have decent lives for themselves, support their families, and be productive citizens in this community that we've been lucky to grow up in. So,
and I'm glad you said that, because that's really where my life has kind of turned towards. I mean, you and I we share a lot of commonalities. We even share one more. I didn't know Miss Leela actually passed away at 55. My mother passed away at 57. So we both lost our mothers at relatively young age, as young men, our babies. Had you had your first child when your mother passed away?
I was very fortunate. Yeah, my mother spent some really good quality years with all 3 of my children, because in her later years she worked at Mac Open, and all my kids attended Mac Open. So they got to go down and see grandma throughout the day and spend some quality time with her in school and outside of school, which was awesome.
So and where we were rooted, with great mothers, great grandmothers, and whatnot, we've tried to obviously pass that down to our children, our grandchildren. And I've always been one where I felt like, I wanted to give back, to pay it forward, and although I was one of those people who started several times and never really completed anything at Washington Community College, I can definitely say I never took out any money and got those loans and didn't go to class type thing. But it was a matter of other things came up. We know those folks, right? Yeah. But one of the things that I like that you've talked about already is putting these youngins on a right path to having substantive earning level jobs. I mean, anybody can go out here and get a job. We know this, but I have never been one to fight for 15. I think a lot of these things that people are doing politically just makes you just a little less poor. And when you start talking about skilled trades and being able to do for yourself, I think you need an education, and everybody isn't cut out for a 4-year institution. Sometimes, a WCC degree would be just as good as you going to struggle at some PWI or even an HBCU and losing your way. It's a small enough campus. It's a niche campus. You can actually find great trades. WCC is great for culinary. A lot of people don't know that. WCC has a great culinary program, something that I possibly should have gotten into, but because I entered the food game at such a young age, I really never felt like I needed it. But I know several people that have gone through culinary programs at WCC, and they excel now in the arts. Also,
unfortunately, I don't mean to cut you off, but unfortunately, they 86'd the culinary arts program. It no longer exists.
Since when?
It's probably been 2-3 years, maybe.
Okay, so we're gonna get there because
I just wanted to stop you because it no longer.
Wow. Well, these people are damn near like our age that went through these programs.
I know some of who you're talking about.
Okay.
I know people that have gotten out of prison and now own restaurants.
Absolutely.
Because of WCC's culinary arts program.
So that's damaging because we've seen how they've cut programs. You and I both went to the same high school, and we've seen how they've cut programs out of the high schools, and it's really pushed it to the level of even going to a trade school or a community college, possibly into a PWI, HBCU 4-year institution. But they've cut so much now. Just to hear this, that they've cut a vital program out of there. I mean, I don't know about other community colleges. I've never really gotten into WC3D, what they do, but I knew that there were certain programs. I mean, obviously both you and I know Mr. Lawrence. We grew up with his children, and the music program, was ridiculous back then. And a lot of people who wouldn't have gone down that path had Mr. Lawrence not existed, and it's unfortunate that we've evolved into a space where people are coming into this territory and taking things over. And I look at it as you're putting your hands on something that you don't belong here. But it's left up to people like ourselves. It's kind of why I've kind of jumped out here later in my life to really try to hold on and preserve some of the things around Washtenaw County that are slowly changing. And if we don't grasp to it and do something about it, then we will lose a lot of it. You being a man that, I mean, if I just mention the name Malcolm, our generation is going to go to you. Your uncle put, I don't know, I'd have to say thousands at this point, maybe tens of thousands. I don't know. But, Robert was the guy. If you needed a job in construction back in the day, I mean, and I lived in Colonial Square, so I was right down the street from the Union Hall. I drove by that every day as a high schooler. Never ventured in there, but then we dealt with each other when I was at DeLong's, and he used to come in and chop it up with my dad. And the name Malcolm has been around here for so long. It seems like it would be a no-brainer if you're looking at this ballot on Tuesday to say, oh, I know that name. I don't know the other two names on the ballot, so I'm not even going to get into who your competitor would be, because I know people look at you and they trust you not only as a man about town, not only as a real estate agent, but you've got a good name, and 22 years plus now at WCC. I think it should be pretty easy for us to be celebrating Tuesday evening. But I know these midterm or local elections don't always have the turnout that they need to. So this is where I'm trying to implore people to not only come out for yourself, but who knows how many votes it really takes to become a trustee. But you need every single vote. And I'm looking at this Washtenaw Democratic Party voter guide today. I saw your name on it. And I'm not sure if your box was shaded in or if there was another box shaded in, but I'm like, I don't even know these other two names. And just by name recognition alone, I would vote for you. Just what you described initially. Why wouldn't I vote for someone like you? Because I can't understand why somebody wouldn't be running on the same platform you are. But as a competitor, is there another thing that say they would be running on? Are they rooted in this community like David Malcolm is? I mean, who are your two other opponents? I mean, what are they running on? Based on. I mean, I don't need you to. It's not a dirty conversation that we're trying to have, but if you're running on this, what are they running on to try to get in?
Well, I mean, respectfully, I mean, I respect my opponents.
Okay.
Bill Milliken has been around the community and done a lot of great things in the community. He's also a realtor. He's done a lot of great things in this community, and I believe that he's also respected by the faculty as a person that will listen and pay attention to those that are actually providing these services and products that Washtenaw Community College has been so well known for to our community and our constituents. You actually do know one of my other opponents, and let's just say her family was tied to one of the businesses you own.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put that out there. But
I'm gonna have to go look at my voter guide now because truthfully, I saw your name just stuck out, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna vote for anybody else, but.
Well, I honestly believe that there's a conflict of interest with one of my opponents because her and her mother both are on the board. And you do know
that's a direct conflict of interest because I really know who I don't even have to look at the guide now, so I know exactly who you're talking about now.
Okay. So there you go.
Yeah.
I just think that that's a conflict of interest to me. There's 7 members to this board, and it's to me it's like a stacking situation. You will never find any dissent ever in their voting records. You know what I mean? It's always the same. So
it's that go along to get along type thing.
And I am not a go along, get along type.
Absolutely not.
I wasn't raised to be that individual. And like I said, I'm not running to be some kind of, big disruptor in the program. No, that's not what it. And being that the board is a policy making board, I'm limited to the scope of things that I would be able to do anyway. But being on that board affords me the opportunity to have influence on some pretty, serious decisions that will be made for the community college. And I don't like the fact of some of the decisions that I'm seeing, that culinary arts department being one, the removal of our family education program, not the program, but the building and the staff that provided daycare services for our students. We are a commuter college. We have plenty of people that come there, single parents, like I say, that need those services. It's kind of hard for me to see 30 of my colleagues basically, have the campus police brought to their office and say you no longer have jobs anymore, and escorted off campus.
How does that happen, knowing the history of WCC, and that many people who take classes there, part-time or full-time, having children? How do you take it upon yourself to vote out family services, daycare services?
I don't understand that. I don't understand it. I will never understand it, but it happened. And privatizing our IT department, you know what I mean? Another 31 employees, basically, hey, you no longer have a job here. And the killer part to me is knowing what I know, for coming from the inside, looking at the situation. Most of the problems that are always resolved within the IT department are resolved by the old employees that came back to work for the new company that was hired to take on the IT whole department. So there's a whole lot of stuff there, and I got to be careful.
Sure. And here, we're too close to the election for you to drop, fire bombs and things
all
like
of this
that.
stuff is public. All of this stuff is public knowledge. So it's not like, but I need to kind of, if I do win this seat, there needs to be someone to ask questions.
Okay.
To ask the necessary questions of why these things happen.
Right.
And my thing is this. In everything that I do, if I win this seat, right? I'm not going to sound cocky and say I'm going to win this because I don't know that. But if I win this seat, there's 4 things that I want to know.
Sure. I
want to know who's for it, who's against it. If you're for it, you should be able to tell me why. If you're against it, you should also be able to tell me why. I also want to know, what is the return on the investment that we're going to make? How long is it going to take for us to get that return on the investment?
Mm-hmm.
And also, is it the right thing to do? Is it the right thing to do for the college, the students, the community, the taxpayer? Is it the right thing to do? Those are questions, and I said 4, but I kind of threw a little wrench in there. But those are the questions that I would ask as a trustee. Is it the right thing for us to do? And I don't think that some of those decisions were the right things to do.
And from the people, it's unfortunate because from the people that we've kind of spoken about, but not really spoken about, these are also people that have been rooted in this community, and they have seen the advancement of other people, Black Americans. You know, I'm not going to get political tonight, but American freedmen, you know, Black Americans have gone through and thrived off of WCC degrees, or gone and transferred to four-year institutions. So to see these types of programs uprooted by these types of individuals, it's just a strange thing to me. And I don't like stacking politics. I don't like where you do it, I'll do it, we'll get somebody else to do it, we'll get somebody else to do it. And like you said, at the end of the day, if it wasn't the right thing to do, why do all y'all do it? Y'all got together and did it because you just wanted to do it. You didn't think about the long-lasting effects. And I say this, literally, I say this, if I broke this wall out right here where I'm at, I would walk into the back door of Roberto Clemente. This is my polling station. I know that school. I did not attend Roberto Clemente. If I had it to do all over again, I'd go to Roberto Clemente because, you know, there were some advantages, but I wouldn't probably want to go through Roberto Clemente without Mr. Doolin. But to see what they did in losing, that's a jewel. That was a jewel. Roberto Clemente was a jewel in the community. And to see what it's become now, it's hurtful. And I don't know who was in those seats when they voted that out, because this was a school, to me, if you weren't going to use it as what you were using it for, possibly it could have prevented that other school from being built. And I know some people are going to be naysayers to that, but I've already heard from other school officials who think the 3 schools are a little bit too much at this point, that maybe we still just need the 2 schools, and the 1 school could be used as a 9th grade academy, or an academy for, you know, for the skilled trades and the things like that the public schools have lost around here. But why wouldn't Roberto Clemente be able to be used? And I don't know what it's called now. It was the Ann Arbor Arabic Community something, I don't know. But why couldn't that building have been there? And we're talking about full auditorium, full gymnasium, full cafeteria. This is a real school.
Yeah.
And you sell that building? You sell that building? That's not the right thing to do. That wasn't the right thing to do. So putting people like yourself in place, that right there, you're going to make sure it's the right thing to do. And then you'll check the other checks and balances, you know, return on investment. You know, is this something that we're spending rightfully on and things like that, because you're a businessman. But the individuals that I think we're talking about are not real good business people, although they may have come from real good business people. They don't sound like real good business people if they were a part of the decimation of the culinary program. What other vital programs besides culinary family services has WCC lost over the last several years? Because a lot of people probably don't know this.
Well, I think that they cut out the hands-on portion of the construction program. I spoke to the instructor that was over that program recently when I was dropping off some signs up at the college, and I haven't, like I said, I haven't been there since February, so I only know what I read, and I do listen to every single board meeting and whatnot online. But you know, I really don't. You don't know what's coming down the pipe until it comes, and that's the problem. There's a communication problem there.
Okay,
you know what I mean. You know, like even during COVID, man, I happened to work in a department that never stopped working. It was us and the police that were on campus. I left my home every single day to go to this, you know, facility to do some of the craziest things in the world. You know what I mean? Like in the middle of the worst pandemic that we've seen probably
in our lifetime. I mean,
you know what I mean?
There were times it was so crazy. There were times that I literally saw you because you had the big blue truck at that time, and I would see you, and I could
damn near going to work.
Going to work. It was like there was very few people on the road at that time. Because, you know, this community, you know, if it's University of Michigan, the medical center and the schools, everybody was at home. Everybody was working from home. But the people who had to get up and go every single day, you only saw a few vehicles, and they needed people like you in play. Because
I had to carry a letter in my truck in case I got pulled over by the police stating that I was essential.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I got up out of my house and I went to that place not knowing if I was going to catch some germ that could kill me and might not bring me home.
Right.
And just some of the stuff that we were doing was just, I didn't get it. It was so unnecessary. While you have administrators sitting at home safe and protected.
Right.
And, you know, we got truck drivers coming in and all of this kind of stuff and not being vetted and scanned and, you know, no protection whatsoever. So, and these are things that I haven't really talked about, but, you know, and like I said, I don't want to let everything out the bag because I have some questions that need to be answered.
And after Tuesday, I'm hoping, as people should understand at this point, we're not just having this discussion as two brothers here, you know, in the struggle. David Malcolm for WCC Trustee. If you're in Washtenaw County, it's going to be on your ballot. This is a full county ballot. I know some of the things are jurisdictional, but this is a full county ballot. So if you do see David Malcolm's name, we are looking for you to vote for him for trustee, because not only is he a good man, he's been a part of WCC for almost a quarter of a century. His family has been involved with WCC and been around this town for damn near a century now. What we're looking for, I believe, in this area is to bring us back to it. You know, I break the numbers down, and when we were growing up here, this is something that me and my father used to talk about. One of the fruitful conversations that we talked about, you know, there was never really 10,000 Black residents in Ann Arbor. He's like, they get it up to like 9,900, it dropped 97, 98, 99. Now we hold it about 7,500 residents. So you figured during our course of our life, we've only lost about 1,500 residents in the city of Ann Arbor. But those 1,500 residents, and you can attest to this, probably 80% of that 1,500 were homeowners. Black homeowners that we lost, the ones that we lost that were and that's a problem because now we've been priced out of the game. You and a few other, working class families are some of the few working class families who actually own your home in the city of Ann Arbor. That's a problem. That's something that needs to change. And when they talk about affordable housing, they're generally directing that towards, and I have to use this word even though I don't use it, African Americans. They're always looking at affordable housing and Black people to be in that same envelope. Just like when they talk about police reform, they look at Black people. When they talk about certain things where it's a stipend, where it's something to just get us through the election, it's generally directed towards us. But see, when I start talking about education, people don't really think of us, unless we're talking about going to Pathways, where it used to be Stone School, or maybe even Roberto Clemente.
Roberto Clemente was turned into Pathways.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And see, people, your history can tell that real story, that your history. But see, now Pathways was a former elementary school. When we were growing up, Stone School was an elementary school.
Also, I did an interview with the Women League of Voters, and you can find that online. It was at 411, whatever, Vote 411. And one of the questions they asked me was, how can Washtenaw Community College play a part in the achievement gap? And, my answer is simple to that. One, they can diversify their faculty. They need to hire more faculty that look like the community.
Absolutely.
That are from the community. Of the community for the community. When I first started working at WCC, not when I first started working there. When I first started attending classes at WCC in 1990 and then again in 1999, man, I was amazed. I'd be sitting in the hallway waiting for class, and I'm watching Black folks run around, managers and administrators, and I remember not having enough money to pay for my classes, man, to pay for my courses. Somebody sent me up to the counseling department, and Mr. Cal Williams at the time was, I believe, vice president of student affairs or something like that. And I told him, I'm like, look, I want to go to school, man, but I don't have the money to pay for my books. I got 3 little kids. I'm broke. I don't have it. He said, go downstairs and tell them to put your books on my account. He paid for my books for like 2 semesters.
Wow.
So I could go to school. I recently saw Mr. Williams at Plum Market, and I hadn't seen him in a really long time. And he almost didn't even remember who I was, you know. And I walked up to his car. I thought he was about to pull a jammy out on me, you know what I mean? But I said, hey, Mr. Williams, I just want to talk to you for a minute. And I said, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm David Malcolm, you know, and I worked at WCC for years. But I just wanted to thank you. You know, I wanted to thank you because without those 2 semesters of him paying for my books, I wouldn't have an associate's degree from WCC. You know, he helped me do that. There was always people that you could talk to, like I was explaining earlier to some people, Miss Iota Fry, Miss Young, Arnett Chisholm, Johnny Lawrence, you know, on and on and on. I can go on and on and on. The people that I knew and recognized from our neighborhoods and our community that provided the services and products that WCC put out. And it was an awesome experience for me. Whereas now, a lot of people that are totally running and making the decisions are not from this community.
Right.
They don't understand the value and having those people there on campus. You know,
right.
Miss Swanson, you could just keep going on and on and on with the names. And as I would drop the names, you would immediately recognize them as people from this community. So it bothers me. And it got to a point to where I'm like, okay, I can no longer influence for the common good as an employee.
Right.
I'm throwing my name in the hat for this seat, and I hope to win it on Tuesday. So I won't have the authority or power, you know what I mean, to do certain things, but I'll be able to be a voice of reason and have the influence to be a game changer and a champion of change, to bring back, like you say, what we've lost, to continue what was great.
See, and here's the thing though, because that's not even you. You've always flowed in a way, and this is why I think our commonalities, they always cross paths. And in doing business, I think we always see eye to eye on a lot of things. It's never been for us to want to be the man.
No,
we've never had the desire to be the man. And we know those people, and that fit those people's character. But see, our character, and I'm just going to speak for you just for a moment, if I will. Our character was everybody can eat. Everybody can eat, but it's got to be the right food, and we got to be we got to be serving everybody, and that's everybody that is rightfully owed. Now, where you've done business in this town, if I start to think about somebody buying a house, first person I'm going to think of is your name. If I start rattling off names of things that are things that people need to do, I'm like, you know what? Why am I even do this? Just call Dave, because I've already heard from people that I personally know, that we both mutually know, how you do things, and you take care of everybody that way. This is the way I would see that you would be as a trustee, because you have a level of care about WCC than someone who's just coming in off the street, a transient, as I call people who move into this territory basically for the comeuppance and then they move on. I don't like seeing people come in here and are given control of things and they don't know the true landscape. I see a lot of people being appointed things, and a lot of people have been elected to offices in this county that I didn't feel like was just. And then within a couple years, people start to see like, oh, they're really not the real people that we thought they were. No, they weren't. And you didn't vet them properly. And that's why we're in the shit show we're in. Well, with a WCC trustee, it comes with the title, trust. I mean, I trust you as an individual, and people trust you as an individual. So if you're on the board of trustees, a high level board of trustees for the college, I would want to see your face. I would want to see your spirit. I want to see your business acumen in there. I wouldn't want to see someone who's just going to build their votes up to push things through, not understanding, where the fallout is going to be, because we've lost some ridiculous programs that we've just talked about in this 40 minutes. And there's probably plenty more that have hurt people from even being able to go to the school. See, that's strange to me when you say something, because I know a couple of youngins who have thought about going into the food. And I'm like, I can teach you how to cook. I can teach you certain things, but I can't teach you that technical thing. And WCC had a placement program. So if you get rid of the culinary arts program, you've now gotten rid of the placement program, where once they do complete it, you can actually put them in someone's kitchen.
Yeah.
But now you've gotten rid of that opportunity as well. If you've gotten rid of the program, you can bring the voice of reason back to that, because they're hurting things. You've got 3 high schools really within 5 miles of WC3. I think any child that's not going to a PWI, they need to be looking right at WCC right off the rip. And it used to be the thing, well, I'm going to take a year off and then I'll go to WCC, or I'm going to start out at WCC and then try to transfer. WCC is substantive enough that if you get an associate's from there, you should be able to go out and make a living and be able to take care of your family. At least that's what I knew it to be. Maybe it's worked its way from that. I know with you as a trustee, that's what you're going to be about, because you ain't never been about no handouts. You ain't never been about, being backbroken and looking for, people to give you something. And you don't want people around you to be that. One thing we do know, if people have, they don't steal. If people have, they don't rob,
That's true.
So why put people?
That's the thing with privatizing all of these departments. I mean, you get a revolving door and you get people that don't have a vested interest in being somewhere. You're going to deal with stuff like that. You're going to deal with all kinds of problems.
Yeah. I mean, let's just take it off the map a little bit for you. Miss Leela was a bus driver.
Yeah.
When Ann Arbor Public Schools decided to get rid of their bus program, we never heard about problems when we had our own bus system.
Nope.
But as soon as Ann Arbor Public Schools decided to contract out the busing, man, you had all types of hell that broke loose around here. And I didn't even understand how it was possible with as many elementary, with as many intermediates, and with the 3 high schools that we had at the time, then go on to 4 high schools. How do you get rid of the bus program? Whose decision was that to say, nah, we don't need that here in Ann Arbor?
And then bring it back and pay the bus drivers the same amount of money, if not more, than they were paying them from trying to save money?
Right.
Everything don't have to be about the dollar, the bottom line and the dollar.
What makes sense is what makes sense. And people didn't understand that. I was like, it made no sense why a city this size didn't have its own busing. And that's also trailed into all the athletic programs. We had buses. You come out for football, basketball, whatever, there were buses waiting for you. I heard about so much fallout when it was contracted out, how buses wouldn't be there to take teams to away games. Hell, it wouldn't be there to take teams to a cross-town game. Yeah. Because you no longer control all of that. And that took also, this is where we get into play, it took a lot of our people out of jobs. We knew damn near everybody that drove a bus. They knew us, they knew our mamas, they knew our daddies, they knew our grandmothers and grandfathers.
Yeah, and the custodians.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, knowing your custodian when we went to school was important.
We
Come
knew a
on,
custodian more than we knew a teacher.
Yeah, think about Lionel Jackson at Huron. You better not get caught in the
Come
hallway
on,
doing
man.
nothing stupid.
Lionel, Larry, Harvey.
Harvey.
My grandmother's over at Tappan, Louis Philpott.
Phil Monica.
Oh, my goodness.
Larry Young, all of them, man.
And here's the thing. Don't be broke and don't have no lunch money.
Oh, they got you.
Because Mr. Jackson got you.
They got you. Yeah, you're going to get you $3-4 to go get you a cheeseburger or something.
Yeah. We lost all of that around here. And people don't understand. We're talking about a custodian. We're talking about the person that cleans up the school. But they were still one of the most valuable employees in the school.
I always say that. The most valuable, the most important, and most valuable people in any institution is the custodian and the secretary.
Yeah.
Period. You know what I mean? And even I'll even go there. I got two things to say. During COVID, our OPTs, our office professionals, which are, I don't like to call them secretaries because they don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were given a 22-cent raise, man. 22 cents.
22 cents?
22 cents.
So they gotta work 5 hours before they get $1?
A gallon of gas is the same for them as it is for the administrators. A gallon of milk is the same as it is for them as the administrators. Most of them are women, and here we find ourselves in 2022 looking at the same environment that we were in when Washtenaw was conceived in 1965, right? Mm-hmm. You got women's rights on the table. You got jobs, leaving, inflation, strife, riots, and war, and we're literally looking at the same view that Washtenaw was conceived in its first 10 years. Washtenaw was a revolutionary institution built on helping this community, helping the non-traditional students and the dispossessed people of this community. That's what it was built on. And we find ourselves in that same situation today. And we gotta do some things to make sure that we address those issues. And the second thing is, I'll double back on the achievement gap, right? I was asked that question about the achievement gap. Well, we need a better relationship with the Ann Arbor Public Schools.
Absolutely.
The Ann Arbor Public Schools has been on the leaderboard for failing to close the achievement gap in this entire country for years.
Yeah.
We were behind the state of Mississippi at one time. We've been on the leaderboard for closing that gap for years. So WCC should, as a trustee, would I have the power to change that situation? Maybe not, but I would have the influence to make decisions to bring programming in or support programming and support assistance in helping close that gap.
Well, the thing is, and we've used the term power.
Yeah, I don't like power.
We don't like that word power.
No.
But the word you just used is influence
and support.
And support. The main thing and the main reason I think that you and I have been able to flow around Washtenaw County a little bit differently than other brothers and sisters out here is because of our influence and who we were influenced by. Understanding that when people think of Ann Arbor, they think of the University of Michigan. And University of Michigan, the school, the medical center. But when you think of Ypsilanti, you don't necessarily think of Eastern Michigan University, or you don't think of St. Joe Hospital, or you don't think of WCC. I believe between Ann Arbor Public Schools, is it Ypsilanti Community Schools? It's YCS, I think. Within those two school systems, and I really want to start to encompass the whole county. I've started to talk more about the whole county, from Whitmore Lake, Chelsea, Saline, Dexter, Milan. All the school systems need to be got at. They need to be got at because they're allowing these kids to go K through 12 and walk out of these institutions with no direction. And I'm talking about the vast majority of them. Everybody is not going to a PWI. Everybody is not going to an HBCU. When I say everybody, because white kids go to HBCUs now, Asian kids go to HBCUs now, Latino kids go to HBCUs now. But we sure don't have that boom that we had in the late 80s and early 90s for Black kids going to PWIs. Remember that boom that you saw a bunch of Black kids started to go to University of Michigan and Eastern Michigan. And a lot of that had to do with the families that they were coming from. And there were substantive incomes and substantive monies for people to be able to do that. Well, no longer does everybody own a house where they can pull, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have money they can pull from a house or have substantive incomes where they can pull from retirements. The people that are working in Ann Arbor that look like us mostly live in Ypsi or other territories. They drove to work back in the day. You lived in Ann Arbor, you worked in Ann Arbor. Now you driving in to come to work, but you live somewhere else.
Yeah,
and that's a problem. And with your influence, with the support of the people on the board of trustees in whatever department, that's what we need. We've got to have all of these school systems understanding we're turning out, and this is no disrespect to anybody's kids that have graduated or they're going to be graduating, we're turning out dummies because we're putting them into the world and they don't know nearly what we knew just on a granular level. For one, most of these kids can't even write in cursive anymore because they're doing everything on tablets and laptops, touch screens with styluses. They don't even know how to write in cursive anymore. The next thing is the communicative gap is ridiculous. You know this because you've got daughters in your 20s. I got daughters. We've had to learn text languages. We've had to learn all types of different things where we come from that chest to chest generation. These kids don't know how to talk. They don't even know how to go in and really ask for a job the way we did. They can fill out applications online, put all their information in, and they can send it to 10 different employers. Oh, I look for a job today. Well, back in the day, we had to get in our car. No, we had to go put some gas in the car, then drive around town with a whole bunch of applications trying to find a job. Those days are over. And where things may be easier, they're actually more difficult, Dave. They're actually more difficult because the kids don't know how to actually flow out here with that.
Yeah, even formulate a letter, like put postage on a letter and mail it off, man. Like how you do that?
Right.
Crazy.
I've stood and just laughed at the attendants at the post office talking to young people when they would say, "Oh, I want to mail this," and they literally have what they want to mail, and they try to give it to the mail person right at the desk, and I'd be like, if it's a lady, she'd be like, "Baby, you got to go over here and get this, and you got to get that," and they don't know how. And the old people call it back in an envelope. They don't know how to back an envelope. They don't know how to put the stuff on the envelope. And I'm thinking to myself, and I've helped people.
And we were taught that in home ec, how to write a check, how to do all kinds of stuff.
Come on, man. And I learned more about that type of stuff than I even learned at home. I said that I would have been better off if my mother would have taught me all the stuff that she was doing, raising me, balancing her checkbook and how to manipulate bills. If I would have learned all that stuff. But the main thing for me was don't get arrested, don't get no girl pregnant, and keep your ass quiet in class. That was the main thing because I was a fairly decent student when I needed to be, when I wanted to be. But my mother, her thing was just, I don't want no problems out of you. I don't want no trouble out of you. That was the main thing. That's why I pushed my girls to probably damn near being crazy when they were young. I mean, I was psycho with their grades because I knew that was the only way they were going to get through this shit. You got to get that education. And if you don't, when you get out here in the world, it will show. It will reveal itself. Kids are not nearly as resourceful as we were in their early 20s as we were in our early 20s. And granted, we did some stupid shit in our early 20s. But we figured it out. We figured it out. These kids aren't figuring it out, man. And that's a problem. So in going into the WCC trustee position, your influence is what's going to carry you. And I'm just speaking it into existence. So, because understanding that we have to get back to people like yourself in this county, elected and appointed officials that are about the county first. that are about this county first, that are about the cities within this county. And really, I mean, now that we're in our 50s, think about it. We're in our 50s, grandfathers, we've got to look at things a little bit differently, and you see me out here grinding, talking about reparations and reparative justice. I ain't talking about getting no check for me, man. I'm trying to get things substantive for my grandkids, because I already know in 20 years, things aren't going to be nearly as fruitful as they are right now. And right now, shit's tight. So
I was on a 3-hour podcast yesterday with Champions of Change and a few other different organizations that are talking about the housing, crisis here in the county, in Ypsi and in Ann Arbor, and how things have changed. And one of the statistics was that it's going to take us 2 decades to get back to where we grew up and how our moms and parents and grandparents had it here in Ann Arbor. We've lost a lot, you know what I mean?
Lost a lot.
And I'm not doing this for no kind of clout.
No.
I'm not doing this for no kind of recognition. I don't want to be no kind of star. I'm recognizable enough. Sometimes I would just want to go places and I don't want nobody to know me, but it's impossible. You know what I mean? For me to move in this county and halfway around this state without seeing somebody that I know.
Absolutely.
But, I'm not doing this for any kind of popularity contest, any kind of publicity, anything like that. Like, this is something that I really love. You know what I mean? This is something that I put my heart into, and I've left blood, sweat, and tears on the table, to support my family and to support the community. In my job, I did more than my job. You know what I mean? I remember being in the cafeteria one day and hearing a young brother walk up to the Subway counter in the cafeteria, and he said, "Hey man, y'all got any jobs here?" And this is how he approached the counter.
Wow.
I grabbed this little brother, man, and I pulled him to the side. He had a do-rag on his head and, pants sagging. And I pulled him to the side and I said, "Hey, man, that's not how you do this." You know what I mean? I'm like, "Hey, take the do-rag off your head. Try it again. Pull your pants up." You know what I mean? And when you come back, ask to speak to the manager, say, "Hey, I'd like to know if you have any open positions here. I'm looking for work."
Right.
You never know who's looking at you. You never know who's gonna see you. You never know who can help you get where you're going. And the way you're doing it is not gonna work.
Right.
So that's because that's what people did for us.
Right.
You know what I mean? If somebody saw you out of pocket in the neighborhood, it was okay for them to pull you to the side and say, "Hey man, get it together." That's what people did for me.
Right.
I knew better than to go out in public and do crazy stuff like that. I knew how to go apply for a job. Even the dirt and wrong that I did as a youngster, I knew better.
Right.
We got to get back to kind of helping these kids, man, because it's rough out here. It's bad.
And I've tried to break this down to so many people. The way I look at it, I said, you can be an old motherfucker, or you can be an elder. And at this state, we're elders. And I'm not trying to give myself something that I don't deserve, but I look at myself as an elder because I can't have somebody go down any of the paths that I went down, the wrongful paths. And I wasn't out here in the streets, just to the point where I was just some thug. But when I went wrong, I knew better. I just did wrong just being selfish. A crime that I committed at 19 years old, I took $40 from somebody and I had a pocket full of money. I just didn't need to do it. I didn't need to cause myself that grief, but I did it because I was being stupid. Whereas these kids now, that same mistake will plague a child now, or a young man, young woman, for the rest of their life, because they're throwing the book at these kids a whole different way than they did back in our day. And where you have the influence that you have in the fields that you're in, you can help people in a multitude of ways. That situation, just being there and seeing how that youngin came in and you knew he wasn't going to get to square one. I've done this countless times down at Friend of the Court. See brothers come in, their pants hanging around their hamstrings, and they got their paperwork all balled up in their back pocket. And you got that scowl on your face. First and foremost, them ladies at that FOC counter, that's the last thing you need to have, because they're going to just stonewall you. And they'll just sit you out there for an hour and you'll be more pissed off before you come back. And I've talked to so many young brothers, like, this is just the way you need to go about it. Or, you got the lockers right there inside the door. I've seen and heard brothers going at their baby mama. They about to go into the court, but they going at it with their baby mama, calling her all kind of names. Don't you think you're going to carry that right over into talking to whoever you got to talk to in here? And I know it truthfully, I'm ear hustling and I'm being nosy in the grand scheme of things. But what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to help him get to that step, because I was that mad individual when I first went down there. I was that angry individual. Now, frankly, I had a little bit more, articulation to myself, but some of these kids don't really understand how important it is to make that first impression. And the last thing you want to do is make a bad first impression at friend of the court, because they will make an example out of you and you're going to always be behind. You're going to always be the ass in that discussion. Same thing goes for out here looking for jobs, getting into schools and doing things. You got to be able to handle business the right way. With people like you in place and your influence and your support, that's how we get this back. That's why I really represent Amber Fellows for mayor in the city of Ypsi. She broke down some things to me about the city of Ypsi being 70% renters. And I know this is something that you can't stand to hear as a real estate agent. 70% renters. I'd love to see that flip to where we had 70% home ownership. I'd love to see it where we had 50% Black American home ownership. We know back in the day, most Black people that we knew that lived in Ypsi owned their homes. It's not the case anymore. It's not the case anymore. And where you did have people that lived in subsidized housing, they looked like us. That's not the case anymore. Back in the day, when you went to the South Side, you didn't see no Arabs, you didn't see no Asians, you didn't see no Hindus, and you see more of them now over on the South Side some days, and you'll see us. And I'm not saluting that we don't live in subsidized housing, because no, I want us to be in homes that we own. But that's how the landscape of Washtenaw County has changed. And where you've got 70% renters versus 70% home ownership. Can you tell me what, if you know, renters to home ownership is in Ann Arbor?
I don't have that statistic on me, but I'll provide it for you. I definitely will.
Okay, because my thing is, I don't know if it's that drastic where you have, I don't think in Ann Arbor it's 70% renters to 30% homeowners. I would have to say it's more even, possibly even slanted to more homeowners than renters. But what I'm also seeing now is the structures that they're putting up more structures for people to rent and not to own. I just looked at something that's right across the street from Carytown, and it was like $824,000. And it was in the air, Dave. They didn't have no lawn. They didn't have no yard. This was like on the second or third floor. And they were looking out over, I think, one window, one way you could look towards Zingerman's, and in the other way you look towards someone blank. And the person put in the comments was on Ann Arbor Politics, it was like shitty views. Hell, when I looked at $824,000 and I didn't see no grass around it, I thought that was the shittiest view I could ever have. How could you pay almost $1 million for something and you not have a yard?
Well, you can just look up one block from where your grandmother's house was, 2 blocks south of where my house is, 900,000. Go over one more street where you got other family on Brook Street, $1.2 million. Hey man, it's the changing of the times, man.
And we're talking about my grandmother's house. She was a custodian. Her backyard, Brook Street, that was my aunt and my uncle's house. He was a custodian.
And my mother was a bus driver. My grandmother was a cook.
You think they could buy them houses now, man?
No, not at all.
It's crazy. We've literally been priced out of the game, and people don't understand. It's not about, the home prices will fall again. They ain't never going to fall that much.
No.
They ain't going to never fall that much. And when they talk about trying to integrate this society or reintegrate the society, we ain't coming back into Ann Arbor as homeowners. We'd be coming back in as renters, and we wouldn't be coming in as renters. We'd be coming in as subsidized renters. I see the politics, and that's why I don't play that game. I don't want to even talk to you about affordable housing. I know that there's a dude out here, Steve Lang-Rangzini. I've heard him talk publicly on the Ann Arbor politics pages about how he's helped people in Ypsilanti get, acquire home loans. And I don't know if you've ever done any business with him and his bank in Ann Arbor, but I'd love to see a bridging of that gap to where not only do I want to see you help people in Ypsilanti, I'd like to see you help people in Ann Arbor. I'd like to see you help people in Milan and Saline and Whitmore Lake and Chelsea and Dexter, because we don't all want to live in Ann Arbor and Ypsi. Some people like the rural areas. Some people like living in Milans and the Dexters, and things like that. But I don't want to see everybody renting either. And What does it take to get on course to be a homeowner? WC3, that seems like that could be some type of, if not a course, but they could provide the facilities. If they couldn't do nothing but provide the room to be able to have people come in and have home ownership workshops. I want to see that. I want to see that because that's the only way that people are really going to understand. That's not being taught in homes anymore, because how am I going to teach you how to go buy a house when I rent? How am I going to teach you how to buy a house when we got Section 8? And that's no knock on any Section 8, recipients, but it's hard to talk about something if you've never seen it and done it for yourself. And we got to get people into that way of thinking. So, I want to see WCC obviously do better by its potential students and its employees, because what you've dropped tonight, I had no idea. I literally had no idea that they've literally cut some of these programs, substantive programs, out. And that only means that there's possibly more to come. Yeah. With that being said, what happens to WCC? You keep cutting these programs. Does that mean they're implementing new things, or are they just cutting them and saving money, they think?
Well, since COVID, we got a lot of online courses. I remember being in Kroger, and I saw a lady working in Kroger, and I just stopped and I asked her, I was like, how long have you been working at Kroger? Because I remember her working at the Kroger on Broadway. So you remember how long ago that was. Kroger on Broadway been gone a long time.
And close to 20 now, ain't it? It's got to be close to 20.
Yeah, she said she had been working for Kroger for like 26 years, and she was tired of working for Kroger and wanted to do something else with her life. And she was like, I was trying to take classes. Now, this is just me having a conversation where she don't even know that I'm affiliated with WCC. She said, I was trying to take some courses at WCC, but all the classes are either waitlisted or online. So I'm going to go to Macomb Community College. So, we at WCC shouldn't be sending people to or forcing them to go to Macomb and Wayne and going to Eastern and other places. We need to be transferring those students from WCC to those institutions.
Absolutely.
That's my view on it. Like, no, those people shouldn't be running to go to those other places. They should be transferring from WCC to those places. So if it's the will, of the voters here in Washtenaw County, after Tuesday, I will use my influence to try and fix some of those. We got empty buildings on campus that have been empty for a long time. We paid a lot of money as taxpayers for those buildings. All these online classes, we need to get students back in the classroom. We need more, person-to-person contact. Definitely, have the money to provide the personal protection equipment or any kind of services that we need to avoid this new plague that we got upon us. I actually work in a department that did the research and purchased all of that personal protection equipment. So I know it can be done. But we need to get these students back in the classroom. We need to have more person-to-person contact. Some people learn better in an environment where they can communicate with their instructor, whereas online, they're not going to ask any questions or communicate or speak. I've had a lot of faculty members just say that the communication isn't there online. And I know a lot of faculty members will probably be mad at me because a lot of them like working from home. But it is what it is. We need to get people back in those buildings. We need to get people back on campus, utilizing those very expensive buildings that we've provided for the college.
Those are priceless structures. I mean, because they're not going to build those structures for the money that they built them for originally anymore.
Never.
So why wouldn't they be used? And it sounds like it's been a lack of ingenuity. I don't want to say a lack of care, even though I know that there's been some carelessness, but that's, again, your ingenuity, your creativity as a man of the community, understanding the landscape for which Washtenaw was built. We've got to bring that back. And if you're teaching kids online 1 day a week, you should be able to see your whole workload, your whole caseload, your whole student body. Because if you're teaching them online, they're not in your face. That break between courses, I mean, how many kids could you see? And part of their grade should be predicated. I'm not trying to rewrite the Washtenaw curriculum, but part of their grade is predicated on them coming in, meeting with their professor, getting everything. That face-to-face means a lot. Then you truly see the progress. You just can't see it by administering tests online and they turn in homework via this and that. No, you got to be able to see these people, because hell, who knows if they're the ones really doing the work.
And there's another piece of that, though, is some of the people in this community don't have access to the internet. Some of the people don't have access to laptops or the things that are needed to take online classes.
Mm-hmm.
We have an awesome transportation system here in the county, that can get people there. We did have an awesome family education building with people that could provide services for those that need it while they're in class.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that they should bring that back. There's a whole gamut of things that come with being on campus,
mm-hmm.
that interaction with other students, that the interaction with other people, the socialization portion of education,
mm-hmm.
having study buddies, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And whatnot. There's a whole lot of things that are important about that. And again, if I'm elected, that's where I would like to use my influence to make sure that we keep that going.
Well, I definitely want to speak more about this after you win the election on Tuesday, because one of the things that I'd like to develop is a sense of what it takes for a full caseload, 2-year degree, books, and then also throw in things where a transportation situation might be needed. Obviously, if they're within the county, we talked about the transportation system that we've got here. If it's a young mother or even a young father who has custody of their children, we've got to find them substantive care for their kids so they can go to school. This is the main reason why many of us don't go to school or stay in school or complete school, is because we have those other things that we have to do. And not that those things aren't as important as education, but once that child does get up to school age and they're off, now you're 5 years in. If you could have finished your degree and had that train wreck right into your kid going to school, now your kid's away all day. You've got a substantive job. You can earn, take care of your kids, make sure that job is acquiescing to you being able to drop your kid off at school, picking your kid up either from the bus stop or from the school. I want to see that for our people. I want to see that for our people. I don't want to just see that for people who, I mean, truthfully, the programs that we just took for granted, I have to say we took for granted, are not even available to us anymore. So we've got to get back to, and I know some people are like, well, things have moved on, things have changed. No. Buses still run, buildings and everything are still open, but we've got to get into these high schools. When a kid gets out of 8th grade, we got to start asking, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Oh, this is the best way to go about that. And I know they don't really start documenting your grades until 9th grade. You got to be right on that kid, and you got to be right on these teachers, because every kid isn't going. I just talked to a brother who, one of my, it's so crazy that we got this situation with Black Americans and American Jewish people right now. But my brother John Lex came into town and we talked, and I told him, I said, just within the last 10 years, did I understand what general track and college track courses were? I was on a general track, and I was actually an above average student, brain-wise, but I should have been on a college track. I should have been taking AC courses. I should have been taking AP courses. Only AC course I ever took was an English class. That's because I was really good with spelling and linguistics and things like that. But I should have been on a college track. But nobody was in my mind to tell me about things like that. And I was on a general track just to get out of the way, to get to get my diploma. Whereas you see most of the kids who are not Black American kids, they're on a college track. They're taking the AC courses. They're taking the AP courses. And I'd rather see a kid struggle through AC and AP courses knowing that when they graduate, hell, they can walk right into a WCC and have basically all their prereqs done, and they can get right into their curriculum. Or if they go to a PWI and fizzle out, if they fall back to a community college, they can pick right up. They don't lose anything by coming back to a WCC. And that's not being talked about with these kids anymore. Kids have to show some type of great motivation to go to school, then somebody will help them. No, it's your job as an educator to make sure that they understand, do they even have the same career resource center? Remember, we had a great career resource center in Huron. I don't even know if they even have that thing anymore.
Yeah, I haven't been over there in a long time.
It's so long, and when I did go over there, it was for like football stuff or Natty's cheering stuff when she was cheering. I don't see even the same accesses. And I know that the same types of people aren't in play. We had Miss Manley, we had Mr. Brown, we had other people that were looking out for us. Yeah. I don't think those places, and all due respect to Brother Che, but Brother Che ain't gonna be able to do everything as the head of the ship. And he really can't get into a lot of the politics of things anyway, because he is where he is. Hopefully he develops the team around him where people are of a like mind, because I know he's definitely about higher education and he's definitely about, his people, but he's got to play. He's got to play that whole, I'm everybody's principal thing. But I think he's already seen the fallout, and he knows too. You don't rob and steal if you got resources, if you got accesses. You don't do that. Though that stuff is left for the people who are in desperate mode, in survivor mode. And we've got to get our people out of survivor mode and desperation mode. So, but the mode I'm in right now is David Malcolm for WCC Trustee. It's on everybody's Washtenaw County ballot. I need people out at the midterm polls for a lot of reasons, but these types of positions are just as important as a mayoral election, as a state rep election, as a state senator election, as a county commissioner, because you don't get to any of that if you don't go to college, if you don't get into school. You have to know at this point where we are as a people. You said 2 decades to catch up, but that's if they stop, Dave. That's if they stop. And everybody else ain't gonna stop. That's only us catching up. Because if they continue to move at the pace they go and continue to get the accesses they get, we'll never close the racial wealth gap. We'll never close the educational wealth gap. We'll never close the economic wealth gap. We'll never close any of that. We'll never close any of it. And we'll be on the bottom. We're a bottom caste people. But we've been able to maneuver. We just want everybody else to be able to maneuver. And we want them to be able to maneuver better than us. That's the thing. And I think that's what people are going to trust in you. And hey, it is what it is. If there's wickedness on that board, that wickedness has to go, because that wickedness is also bringing in no ingenuity, no creativity. And that go along to get along shit's got to go anyway. I ain't with that. I ain't never been with that. And, frankly, it's probably cost me. I could have went along to get along and been a whole lot better financially in my life, but I've chose to go against the grain because, I'm Ida and Clarence's boy, man. I'm that's just who I am. So,
the funny part about this is though too, like, you mentioned the other areas around here, man. I've been riding through Saline. I've been riding through Chelsea, Dexter. I got signs out in Manchester, man. I got support from all walks of life, all people, and it's because people know me. You know what I mean, and I know them. And this is a Washington County thing. You know what I mean, and I'm definitely a lifelong county resident. And WCC is definitely a county gym, and we need to keep it that way. You know what I mean? And of course, I wake up black every day.
Absolutely.
So my first thought is a black thought because I wake up as a black man. This process has been, it's been long, it's been tiring, but I am very thankful to everybody in this community who has supported me and reached out. I mean, I'm getting emails and phone calls from people I don't even know. People call me at 10 o'clock at night, man, asking me questions. And I'm very thankful to have that support, man. And after Tuesday, we'll see what happens, and then we get to work.
You're a pillar, bro. And I don't know. I know you get your flowers in the real estate game, and I know you get your flowers for being a man about the community, but I don't believe that people really understand how vital people like yourself are in this arena. Because this isn't about politics. It's about trust. It's about, putting the right person in the right position so they can help others. And I had set out, and I really only talked to a couple brothers, Kareem Johnson and a couple other people. I'm looking for solid brothers around Washington, lifelong Washington County residents who really understand the landscape of things. And I want to be able to put, the Washington men together because, if you're not a father biologically, you've been a father figure to somebody, and you've been a mentor to somebody, and you've been a counselor and a guide to somebody. And we're hitting that stage where, of course, a lot of us grew up where our fathers might have not been in a home, but we had men to help guide us through. Some of these youngins don't have it. Some of the men and the women, young men and young women, don't have that around here. And it's a weird energy that I'm seeing with a lot of these young people, that they don't respect a lot of people who look like us, but in particular, they might respect you and I. I had a situation yesterday, man. I don't know what it is with some of these young sisters out here. You choose to live your life the way you live it. But, this young sister, and you could visibly tell she was a gay sister, and his young brother just complimented her. And she kind of scowled at him. She kind of scowled, and just instead of saying thank you and moving on, she kind of scowled at him. And he looked like he was just ready to just read her. And I looked up, and I was just like, and I had to shake my head. And he turned around and went the other way. And I'm just an old nigga in the room. I tell people all the time, I'm just an old nigga in the room. I see things, I do things, whatever. But it was just that eye contact that I was able to make with that young brother that also kept that young lady from being cussed out, because he was ready to cuss her out. And he was respectful. He was being respectful. I don't know what it is with the energy of some of these young people out here, that they are constantly mad. They are angry from the get. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And it gives off such a bad aura that, you put that off onto somebody else. That's how I think a lot of these situations jump off and they end tragically, because we're not the same people as we were 20, 30 years ago. Whereas I've never heard about anybody having a bad meeting with Dave Malcolm. When you talk about business, nobody's ever told me like, man, he treated me kind of shitty, this, that, and the other. Now, if it's just a one-on-one thing, you might end up having to read somebody their rights. But business-wise, I've never heard about anybody, and I've only ever heard about how much you helped them, how much you stepped over and outside of yourself to do for them and make sure that they were good. This is what I expect after Tuesday, once you're elected as a WCC trustee, because your influence in this community is going to carry over to WCC, and any wrong that they've done, there's going to be hell to pay for that. You ain't going up in there wielding a sword, at least literally, but figuratively, I think you'll be able to, because you have the influence, you have the knowledge, you have the ingenuity. And that's what we need from people that are in appointed and elected positions. Don't get put into place with that face and don't do shit. That's all I'm telling people. If you're going to get elected and you're going to run and you're going to use this to get elected, then do something for your people. Do something for your people. You got a legacy. You got history. You got that name, the Malcolm name. It's a brand. It is a brand that we know. And I just want people to understand this name is plastered all over town. You'll see road signs, yard signs all over time with David S. Malcolm in it. You're looking for a house, Malcolm sells. You see that everywhere now. And if your name wasn't good, you wouldn't be so proud to put that name out there the way you do. And that's what we need to be able to see with people and carry on, because this behavior around Washtenaw County, frankly, I just think we need to get rid of it, bro. I think we need to get rid of it. This is our county. And we ain't lost it. We've just been somewhat displaced, but not replaced, but displaced. And on Tuesday, I'll get with you sometime tomorrow, make sure I get a sign. But on Tuesday, I want people voting David Malcolm. And if the ballot, I believe the simulated ballot, if it's real, it's probably going to be on the right side of the bottom of the front part of the ballot. If you've got a simulated ballot, I remember the way it looked. It don't matter. If you see Washtenaw Community College trustee, there's a name on there, Malcolm, shade the box in. Shade the box in. Let this man get to work. Let this man get WCC back up on its feet where it needs to be. A quarter of a century there, all of his life here. There ain't nobody better to be put in the position. I don't care about who else's name is on the ballot, because frankly, I done seen those people, at least that name, at least once, maybe twice in the last 6 months, didn't even know it. But now that you said it, I do know who that other name is. And now when you said what you said, the second time, I was like, oh shit, I do know who he's talking about. Yeah. So, what's real is real though. I mean, and some people are put in place for the right reasons. Some people are put in place for the wrong reasons. And if nefarious things have been going on, that needs to stop, because that only hurts us as a collective. It may not hurt individuals, but it'll hurt us as a collective. And we just don't need that behavior around here. We got to take this county back over. We've got situations happening in these cities and towns about Washtenaw County that shouldn't be happening. And that's only because we've lost ourselves. But it's just time to get it back. And I definitely want to be getting with you and give you some bullet points, because I'd like to see some scholarships set up at some of these schools so kids know I got something to look forward to, even though I'm not going to a 4-year PWI, even though I don't qualify to go to an HBCU. Maybe I can win this WCC 2-year scholarship. They have that little, and I would have to call it an obstacle. They have that obstacle of becoming possibly a parent when they're in high school. Now school might be thrown out the window for most. No, they've got family services. They'll help you with daycare. They'll help you with transportation. We're not letting kids go because they have these situations come up where a lot of kids were thrown away because of these situations. So it's up to us to put it back in play. Our people are gone. It's up to us.
Facts.
So facts. If you don't have anything else to say, I just want to say once again, vote David Malcolm for Washtenaw Community College trustee. But I will definitely give you the floor to close out, because I've talked probably more than I needed to at this point. But I just want, if there's a statement that you want to make for people as to, once again, why to vote you versus voting for someone else, please make that right now.
Well, thanks again for inviting me to your platform, brother. I appreciate it. Like I said, I don't have any axe to grind. I don't have any kind of ulterior motives for doing what I'm doing. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for any kind of popularity or to win any kind of popularity contest. I'm doing this out of true love and genuine love and for WCC, and I want my colleagues to be heard. I want my colleagues to be listened to. I want to, like I said, be that voice of reason for the taxpayer, be that voice of reason for the students to make sure we have the right programming, the right policies set, fair, equal, and balanced policies for all. And, let's keep WCC what it's always been, that diamond in our community that helps people move forward and help them enter this global workforce that we now are in, and take care of their families and live a great life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, with that being said, man, get some rest. I know you've had a camera and a microphone in front of your face all weekend. This is not, it's at least your second interview today. Did you have another one? Did you have a third one?
I had 2 today, but I've been talking to people.
Yeah, you've been out. So rest up, get you some tea, some lemon, or maybe something a little stronger, and sit back and relax, because the next 2 days, they're going to be crazy for you. So I'll get with you tomorrow, make sure I get a sign. So I've got something on Tuesday. But yeah, you're just a good brother that just really needs to be put into this position to be able to help our people out. And when I speak about our people, I am not just speaking about, at that point, Black Americans, but I'm speaking about Washtenaw County residents. I mean, that's who we're trying to help out. Like I said, we wake up every day. We Black men, we wake up with a Black thought. But we also know that throughout this county, we've done a lot of business, a lot of business with people that did not look like us. And that's our upbringing. That's where we came up. But it's also how we learn how to move around here. So with that being said, man, just get some rest, and I'll be knocking on your door sometime tomorrow and be able to break bread with you. I appreciate you.
Hey, I'll leave a couple outside too, just in case.
If I don't cross paths, I'll let you know. I know where you at.
yeah. Or I can end up meeting you somewhere. So you let me know. Either way, we'll figure it out.
I like the secret spot. I like the secret spot. So if we can get to the secret spot, that was one thing. It was so crazy when you told me where you were one day. And I still, to be honest, I've never told anybody where that spot is. And it's not like it's a secret spot, but to me, it's a secret spot because I went there, and like you said, there's very few places you can go around this county and people don't know who you are. I went there and not one person knew who I was that day.
Yeah.
That was one of the greatest feelings. And I was on a main drag in town. I was like, I like it here. I can just sit here and chill. And but you need that. You need to be able to have those spaces. And hey, I'm good with it. I'm good with it. I have no problem with that type of lifestyle. So
I got another secret spot I'm gonna introduce you to. Stay tuned.
Word up. See, now really.
Don't worry about it. Stay tuned.
I got you, man. Well, I appreciate you, and have a good night. Get some rest.
All
and
right.
Congratulations. I'm just speaking it into existence.
All right, my brother. Have a good night.
My man.
All right.
Thank you.